I haven't eaten any carbohydrates for the past 9 months. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what has happened since that point. So I started this all on May 5th of 2024. Before that point, I was in an experimentation phase with my diet. I was trying a bunch of different things, like a bunch of carbs on one day, less carbs on another day, or absolutely zero carbs on some days. And overall, throughout that experimentation phase, I found that whenever I didn't eat as many carbs, my life generally got better in a multitude of ways. And I'll share those with you in this video, but overall, I just decided at that point, like, okay, I'm going to stick to this for a full year, absolutely zero carbohydrates, no nonsense, and see what happens. And that's exactly what I did, and that's exactly what I've been doing for the past 9 months, what I plan to do for the duration of the the year or so. And in this video, I want to share with you how that's helped me, what basically what happened over these past 9 months, and just give you kind of like my own recommendation and whatnot on if you should try it or not, as a guy who's been through it for 9 months, right? So, firstly, I just want to go over the benefits. Actually, firstly, I should introduce myself. My name is Keegan, and I talk about like diet and fitness and stuff, and yeah, that sort of thing. So, if you want to subscribe and support me, then go check out the links in the description or just subscribe and do all the YouTube stuff. Anyways, let's talk about the benefits that I've experienced so far in these past 9 months. Because I'll be completely honest, these past 9 months have been honestly some of the best of my entire life. Yeah, just like ever. And so here's some of the benefits that I've experienced. And the first thing I think is just my texture of existence is just so much better. And that can sound like a really nebulous term, like, oh, texture of existence, whatever. But it's just my day by day existence is better. My mental clarity, I think, is probably the biggest contributor to that. I'm able to think clearly. I'm able to have energy. It's kind of a mix of like mental clarity and energy. And it is the best feeling that it's just the best feeling after living in kind of like a smog for most of my life. And after coming out of that, it's just like it's it's literally like a breath of fresh air after being in like a smoggy city or whatever. It's the best thing it's like the best thing since sliced bread, bro. um, it's just it's so hard to describe. Like it's something that you honestly just need to experience in order to truly like understand. Like, oh, like this is what mental clarity is. This is what this is what the energy can be like. And it's just been such a boost to my existence, that that's why I'm really talking about it a lot. Is just it's helped me a lot and has made my life a lot more positive and energetic and clear. Other benefits that I've experienced whenever I've cut out carbohydrates is I've also experienced a decent amount of fat loss and just a lot of water weight being kind of like flushed away from me. So, if you don't know, carbohydrates, I mean, it's like a carb molecule. It's a carbon molecule that's like hydrated, right? So that there's water on it. But along with that, other like water molecules can stick to them in your body. And so, I mean, that's why a lot of bodybuilders will say you need carbohydrates to like fill up your muscle glycogen so you can look full and whatnot. And that might be true to some extent, but whenever you're eating some carbohydrates or just like I it's hard to describe, but you get watery sometimes, and that's exactly how I was. I was just watery and like puffy and like inflamed, and I just felt like slow and lethargic and big in my body, which just isn't a pleasant feeling to have. And whenever I cut that out, whenever I cut up the carbohydrates, I lost a lot of water weight. Like I lost like 5 pounds of water weight in like a week. And I immediately felt like lighter. I felt more energetic. I felt just better able to move. Because whenever I was first experimenting with this diet, I was actually getting like slightly overweight. And whenever I cut out this, I actually moved back down into like a relatively healthy body weight range. And my body was actually like able to move again. And it felt great. And also the fat loss side of things, like now I'm just getting like diced. And it's so easy to do it because I don't get like hungry or anything like that. And I've been tracking my food for a while now, and obviously it does help to have to like exercise a bunch and whatnot, but just being on the side of like zero carbs has made losing fat like the easiest thing ever. And I think that's another benefit is whenever you're not eating carbohydrates, your hunger signals aren't as aggressive. They aren't as like drug addict esque, if you know what I mean. So whenever you're on like eating carbohydrates and stuff, at least for me, what I always experienced was whenever I would have something, I would get like this sugar high, and then as I was crashing back down, I would get super hungry again, and I would just have more sugar. And this was especially like a vicious cycle with with stuff like candy, like cookies especially. My mom makes cookies every once in a while, and I couldn't just have one. It was like I would have one, I would put the Tupperware container back in the pantry or whatever, and then like 5 minutes later, I'd be back. And that cycle would repeat like 10 times, dude, until like half the candy, or not the candy, the cookie jar was like gone. And the crazy thing is that even with like the healthy carbohydrates, I was doing the exact same thing. And like I remember specifically one morning before school, I was chopping up this pineapple, and I ate the whole thing. After I stored some of it, I had a little bit, and then I had a little bit more, and a little bit more, and I just like I ate the whole thing, and then I felt sick afterwards because I had this weird drug-like compulsion just to have more, even though I wasn't intending to eat that pineapple. I just did, and that doesn't happen anymore. I don't have this like weird compulsion to have more food. It's like if I'm full, I'm good. I don't need to eat any more food. And that's the best part about this, in my opinion, in terms of like eating, is you feel like you're in so much more control of your food intake. You're in so much more control of your hunger and your and yeah, just your food intake in general. You're just so much more like tight, like your grip is so much stronger on it because you don't have this like weird drug like compulsion. Something that I've learned actually is that carbohydrates, especially stuff like fructose, which is found in fruit and like honey and like the high fructose corn syrup or whatever that's in a lot of junk foods and stuff. But fructose, I'm pretty sure lights up the same dopamine pathways, though it's not like as much as like hard drugs, like crack or something. And that's crazy, honestly. It's like if it lights up the same dopamine pathways and it is addictive like that, that's insane that a lot of people eat that on like a daily basis. I mean, I used to be one of those people. So, yeah, it's just crazy when I think about that. Is it's like a low key drug that 99% of people eat nowadays. And another point on that, of the addictive side of that, is how whenever I was first quitting, I did feel those like sugar cravings in the first, few weeks or so. And it was really interesting to experience that because whenever you don't eat other stuff, right? Like I don't know, like maybe you decide to fast for a while, or you don't eat any like meat or whatever. Like, I remember distinctly, I never had any like super big cravings for like steak or whatever. Whenever I was eating, like sugar and just like garbage food, I never had like a hankering for like protein rich, like super like healthy food, right? I never had a craving for that stuff, but I always had a craving for the sweet things, and it literally was like an addiction to carbohydrates. Whenever I look back at that, it was literally like an addiction. It's just, yeah. Just thinking back at that, it's crazy whenever I think back to that. And that was a struggle whenever I was first transitioning out. And if you do end up trying this diet, you probably will experience the same sort of thing where if you cut out carbohydrates after eating them for a long time or your entire life, like I did, you're gonna have those cravings where your body's just screaming at you, like, have more. And it's basically like you're going through like light withdrawals. Because, if you've ever gone through like caffeine withdrawals, or you can imagine, some drug fiend going through drug withdrawals. It's kind of like the same thing, except it's just on like a lighter basis because sugar isn't as hard of a drug, right? It still lights it up. It's still addictive and whatnot, but it's not as like crazy as like crack or whatever. But it's still addictive, and so you probably will go through those withdrawals if you do end up trying this, but don't let that discourage you. Is what my advice would be. Don't fall back if you don't fall back into those cravings, because after you get out of that period, that's whenever you start really experiencing the benefits that I've been talking about, like the control over your diet. Your hunger signals are in in a lot better of management. You experience the mental clarity. You probably will experience like the water weight and stuff in those first few weeks, just because whenever you're like getting the carbohydrates out of your diet, the water weight comes out pretty quickly, from my experience, anyways. But it's like after you get past those first 2 weeks of quitting sugar, quitting carbohydrates, life gets just better, in my opinion. And again, and and that's why I've really stuck to this for 9 months now, and that's why I plan on sticking to it for a full year, is because I've experienced so many benefits. Like, I wouldn't honestly, I probably would have stopped at like month 3 if I felt like crap, if I didn't have any energy, if I couldn't perform in my lifts, if I couldn't like work out intensely. I probably would have quit a lot sooner, because it literally just doesn't mesh with my lifestyle if I'm if I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling awful, if I'm doing all these things. And I would tell you, if I felt those experiences, like I do get tired, right? But it's only after I mess up and I do something like get a bad night of sleep, or I or I do something like stupid to like dehydrate myself, or I just like do it's mostly like bad sleep, to be honest, or I just like don't give myself enough time to recover or whatever from a hard workout. Then I'll be tired. But like I said, I would have stopped doing this diet a lot sooner if I had experienced negative side effects. And so that's why I would recommend this diet to literally anyone, right? Whoever you are, I would recommend you at least try this, right? I think that there's a lot of value in seeing for yourself, because you can listen to all of these people online or whoever, right, about this thing or that thing or whatever, but you don't truly understand until you like actually try it. And I would give a zero carb diet, like a keto diet, a 5-star review because it's pretty great. And I think it's worth a shot if you want to try it out. But with that, if you like what I'm saying, then you should go subscribe and check out the links in the description. I've made a video course that will help you stick to your diet, and it's like a step-by-step kind of guide to eating like a low carb diet and whatnot.